I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast. Gary versus Jeremy. Avengers versus X-Men. Gary, we're back.
We're back, baby.
To the listeners, it's only been a handful of days, but for us, it's been like years since we last talked.
Yep.
We
actually record these original ones when the series was coming out.
Yes.
We just didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. What does it feel like to be Gary 2099 is what I'm curious about the most.
Oh, he's worse than regular Gary. I was talking about on Guppy, like my hip it hurts if I twist my leg in a different way, so I got like a new pain.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's specifically an old man pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's if I turn my legs outward, like you poke your feet out, like I don't know what they call that.
Your left one in and your right one out. I got it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like if I do that, then it hurts. I feel it in like a new place in my body I've never felt anything before.
Oh, good. Good.
I'm just just like, oh, there's something inside there that isn't happy. Like that's definitely inside my body and doesn't like it. So that sucks. And it's incredibly hot. So all those things suck.
I woke up the other day and I had like weird chest pains that I hadn't had before.
Oh, geez.
And that could be like a lot of different stuff. And like my dad has had heart problems and things like that, and also like COVID is around. So, but my hypochondriac ass just went like, oh shit, and then Autumn was like, Jeremy, do you remember what we did yesterday? And I was like, I mean, like we grilled. And she's like, we hung a bunch of tiki lights in our carport, dude. Like you were on a ladder stretched up 9 feet in the air for like a while. Like, do you remember that? I'm like, oh, you think that hurt my chest? And she's like, yeah, dumbass.
You got muscles in there, bro.
Yeah,
they're being used.
But what if it's COVID, as he says?
Yeah. Well, that would be horrible.
Yes.
I don't want you to. I don't know anybody who's gotten COVID, and I want to keep it that way. So,
Chris had it, my co-host on Monster of the Week, and he did not have a great time with it. It was not a fun experience. So
it was pre-vax, right?
Pre-vax, yeah.
Yeah. Because my understanding is like post-vax, it's still sucks, but not so bad.
Yeah.
Who knows about the long-term effects of that? This is fun.
Yeah.
Superheroes.
Avengers versus X-Men. What has been up with the Avengers versus X-Men, Gary? What have people been doing?
Well, there's that fight on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we were finally out of it, which I really like. It's only been a scant like 3 weeks, and we're no longer doing flashbacks to that. We're also covering the first issue of a new comic for us today. Mm-hmm. Avengers Academy, which I read a bunch of. I read the first like 18 issues or something of this just because I heard it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And it is good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't see the kind of this crossover, so it's doing all this stuff that I kind of forgot about. But this is the Christos Gage comic about Hank Pym's kind of version of the Jean Grey Academy, where they're training up young Avengers. And not the Young Avengers, other ones.
I read some of this as well, and I thought some of the characters were cool. I didn't really, I don't really like Hank Pym that much, and he really rubbed me the wrong way in the first few issues. And then and then I just fell off into a fucking X-Men hole for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I just have not gone back to it. But this issue, Avengers Academy number 26, is a lot of fun. Like this is really good.
Yeah.
I especially like it because there's no Iron Man lore in it. That really helps me.
They're Iron Fist lore.
Fist, yes, thank you.
Yeah. There's also no Iron Man lore though as well. But yeah, it doesn't. We're not spending very much time in the ancient immortal city of Kunlun, which I like. Kunlun. Yeah, and these characters are all like goofy ass designs. I've always felt like, but I kind of like them. Specifically the big red fella whose name is escaping me right now.
Yes.
That guy's great.
He's good.
He's real fun.
It's also one of the things that I think you and I both appreciate about that happens in X-Men comics from time to time, which is like, oh, here's an issue that's like a day off. And the whole issue isn't that by any stretch of the imagination, but like there's a section of this where it's just like, oh, kids being kids. Like we're gonna, we're just gonna have fun and goof off with our powers, which I think is always a lot of fun. So
yeah, they get a lot gets done in this issue for like character stuff. So we mentioned this is Christos Gage, who is a writer who I generally like. I think his hit rate is better than his miss rate. Mm-hmm. Last time I got off reading comics, I was reading a lot of Christos Gage stuff because he was very prolific. And then the art is by a guy with the last name Grummett, or lady with the last name Grummett, who I'm not very familiar with. And it's fine.
Yeah.
You know,
this is,
it's kind of like,
it just looks like comic books to me. Like I couldn't,
yes.
There's some cool stuff that happens in here, and there's some stuff that looks good, and then there's some stuff that's like kind of questionable, and it just looks like comic books to me. Like I'm not stressed about it at all. So
yeah, me either. It's very, very kind of old school comic books. Yeah. Liz, shall we get into it?
Let's do it. There. Our cover is very evocative, even though we don't really, none of it's really representative of what happens.
None of this happens.
But we have a sentinel in the background, kind of looking at some mutants in the foreground who are all collared up with their mutant dampener collars, and got, their arms are shackled. And then behind the fence in front of the sentinel are young Avengers. It's weird because we can't say they're young Avengers. Yep. The Avengers who are young that are not the young Avengers.
Yes, the boys who happen to be my friend.
Yeah,
who
our teenage Avengers in the Academy.
Yes. None of this happens. Instead, we immediately get a splash page of Comedy Hercules, which is a real fun early 2010s Marvel thing, demonstrating the first Olympics games to the students in the nude.
Yes,
since he was there,
and he is completely naked and very proud of it. And he's talking about how he wants to find one of the students. He wants one of the male students to volunteer to wrestle him, just like they did back in the day, so he could show them how it's done. And of course, Tigra shows up.
Greco-Roman fucking.
Yes, Tigra shows up in a bikini, like acting all high and mighty, and I'm like, girl. Like, I, like, okay, but like you're in a bikini. Like, I know that's your thing, but you're in a bikini, and you're like, I'm just saying. I
don't know a lot of West Coast Avengers lore, you know. But when I was reading this comic, and like Tigra was a really big part of it. Like, it's very weird that she dresses like she's in the Savage Land.
Yeah.
All the time, because she's like a single mother and like has a bunch of pathos. There are all these scenes of her talking to Hank Pym, and like it's very heartbreaking, but I'm like, girl, like you can put on some clothes for this.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to slut shame anybody. If you want to wear a bikini as part of your outfit, that's fine. But like also, like maybe don't jump on Hercules' case for just, being nude either. Like,
raw dogging it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It also just feels like they should as a teacher, like it is, again, no slut shaming. You get to be a sexual being as a teacher. I know that if I were in school and one of my teachers was Tigra, like all I would do is excuse myself to masturbate because she was in a bikini. And it doesn't even have anything to do with like being horny for Tigra. It was just at the time, like it would either be a teacher in a bikini or like, oh man, those two dunes that they just showed us in the textbook to show us Egypt to kind of look like titties. What am I going to do?
Do you remember that Naked Gun thing where he gets picked up from the airport and he looks out and there's the two silos with the tips and he's like, whoa.
It's like everything reminds me of her. Yeah. Like that's a real 13-year-old boy kind of thing to do. And this is about training 13-year-old boys to be Avengers.
Yeah.
And they cannot do that if they're constantly spritzing glue.
All of this is interrupted when the Avengers land. The Avengers in this case are Captain America, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, and also Wolverine. They have the devastating news that they are at war with the X-Men. And Quicksilver has kind of a lengthy, like, hey, this is what's been going on in Avengers versus X-Men. If you're just reading Avengers Academy for some reason, let me go ahead and explain what the Phoenix Force is to everybody. And basically the setup for this is like after the battle at the beach, the X-Men scattered and they left the young X-Men behind. So there's all of these X-Men students that were at Utopia that now don't really have any place to go or any place to be, and they kind of just want them to be somewhere safe. And there's a lot of weird talk in here. There's a lot of like, well, what do we do if they try to escape? And it's like, well, you're allowed to prevent them from escaping, like but with as little force as possible. Like then they're talking to the students about this, and this is like a weird, like this is a very tense back and forth kind of thing here. And I really dug this. I thought this was a really good setup.
It's worth noting that the Hawkeye and Quicksilver are part of the normal cast of this book.
Yes.
So that's why like they get a little extra screen time here. They're normally teachers of this, and there's like running subplots with them. They've also brought on Kavita Rao and Madison Jeffries, aka Box, to be the chaperones. I love that they got left behind when the X-Men jetted as well.
See you later.
It's so funny that like, yeah, I mean, Kavita Rao isn't a superhero or anything, but Madison Jeffries, he's like in Alpha Flight. It's like, oh, we're gonna leave you with the kids. Like it's real, you had to sit at the kids' table Thanksgiving energy for him, which I think is very funny.
There's a really good kind of one-off tie-in to, I think it's either Messiah. I think it's got to be Second Coming, which has to do with that chick trying to find like a cure for mutants, because in this weird alternate reality, Hope became like this body horror mutant absorption machine. She has to try to kill it. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And like, of course, it's like, and then she wakes up. Like, it didn't matter at all. But it was just a really fun little book. Like, that got me to like her more than anything else that I've seen her in so far.
Well, she's the antagonist to the first Joss Whedon.
Is that actually her? The one that
X-Men.
actually cures?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was actually her. So
yeah. That's where she initially, that was her first appearance, I think. I love it. It's very funny that Captain America is telling this in front of all the X-Men kids. Like, listen, it's going to be your mission to stop them. And just like the kids are just like, what? And it just feels like they could have like given this as a memo to the teachers or something. There's a tense little moment here where Wolverine is like, hey, X-23, I figured you'd want to talk to me about this, make it fast. And she calls him out. She's like, people talk about you and say, which one did you choose between the X-Men and the Avengers? Like, I don't want to be part of this war between you and Cyclops. Like, I'm not here to do this.
Yes.
And he's like, basically like, I'm sorry I involved you, but this is what I'm trying to prevent. This is why there was the X-Men Schism event in the first place. Like, I don't want the kids involved. The adults are being idiots. We got to go fight, but I just want you guys to be safe.
And it's worth noting too that like Laura X-23 is kind of a weird fit for Avengers Academy, because not only is she a mutant, but she was also part of X-Force, which was like a mutant death squad for a while. So like,
well, yeah, that's kind of the weird twist to Avengers Academy. Like the first arc or two is them figuring out that the main cast are basically being monitored. Like they were all recruited because they had potential to turn into a villain. Essentially, like the girl, like the finesse who has the photographic memory, is implied to be related to the Taskmaster, and the rest of them, a lot of them got their powers from Norman Osborn. Yeah, when he was in charge, like he had cornered them. So it's supposed to be like the misfits and like villain adjacent heroes. So yeah, she's a real weird fit because she's kills people a lot, as opposed to normal Avengers here. And it's a big reunion here, as she gets back, like she's got history with a lot of these people.
Oh yeah,
who are coming back. So that's going to be kind of the subplot. Before that though, there's the continuing subplot. I do not know how this happened, but Sebastian Shaw apparently lost his memory and has been hanging out with the Avengers Academy.
So after the events of Second Coming, apparently Namor has some beef with this dude, with Sebastian Shaw. Okay. And the White Queen, Emma Frost, was like, can't let Namor have him, he'll kill him. So after some shenanigans, she just completely erases his memories and like abandons him in Alaska. I don't know how he wound up back into the X-Men fold, but like that is the last time I saw Sebastian Shaw. It's like her wiping his memories and then saying like, see you later, have fun in Alaska. And Kitty Pryde being like, late, I don't agree with this, but I'm still not phasing, so bye.
Yeah, I think I'm out. I thought I was crafting a bullet. And Wolverine doesn't like that this dude's around. Like, like you're a scum. And he's like, hey, I don't remember being scum. And the Cuckoos like call him out. They're like, that's not true. Like you read about it back in Generation Hope number 17, which like I didn't read. I don't know about that comic. And he's like, well, yeah, but I'm not that person. So they're like, we're going to put you in a jail cell. That Madison Jeffries is going to design one that'll continue with your powers. And he's like, cool, just give me some books and I'll go quietly, rather than fight Wolverine. Yeah. To defuse the situation, Hercules is like, I love this little bit where he's like, welcome, first and foremost, you're not prisoners. There will be no torture of any kind. As if the kids are gonna be like, hooray. And the X-Kids are not into this. They're like, we're this obviously is a prison. You guys just discussed how we're not allowed to leave. Yeah. That's not okay.
and they just want to go like keep up with the war on TV, right? Like they just want to go follow the news, and Hercules is like, hey, how about the Olympics instead? Which brings us into this like, mutant versus X-Men versus Avenger thing, which feels like another versus Avengers versus X-Men versus comic, but it's not quite that bad. We start out with 2 in the aerial sprint category. This is weird because we're reading this right after the Olympics, which I don't know if you watched any of the Olympics, but it was really weird this year to watch the Olympics.
I will never watch the Olympics. I fucking hate the Olympics so much. Like I think it's so boring. I don't understand how anyone has ever watched it. It is the most boring thing that takes up all of TV forever, for like every couple of years.
You just got to get into rhythm gymnastics, dude. That's the thing. Rhythmic gymnastics is the thing.
It's so boring.
Just watch them toss them hoops around. It's awesome.
Like I watch the Puppy Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a dog show. I'll watch a dog show. That's pretty fun. Got kind of Olympic vibes, but for dogs.
AGDQ versus the Olympics. Go. Which one's better?
AGDQ.
Easy call.
Yeah, easy. Like, I cannot watch the Olympics, man. I cannot countenance their tomfoolery. And then I hate all the meta commentary about them fucking giving each other STDs all the time. Like the whole thing just feels gross to me.
Yeah.
Just like, just a bunch of like gross, muscly, oily people fucking and like showing off for, yeah, I do not respect the Olympics. Or anything that came out of ancient Greece, including democracy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Do not respect it. So this is I don't know these characters. I don't even know which one is which.
Here between either.
Lightspeed and Transonic.
I have no clue.
Yeah. The important part is the one who one of them psychs out the other one by telling him that the fastest person she raced was Carolina Dean from the Runaways, and after they raced they started dating because that character is a lesbian or bi, I'm not sure, and it psychs out the other one. Like it's not our fault, they don't tell us who they are.
I can only assume that Lightspeed is the blue one, and that Transonic, although Lightspeed, like which one would
she does have a rainbow behind her.
A rainbow behind her, but like, would that be Transonic or Lightspeed? I don't know, Gary. It doesn't matter because
one of them
is
also
characters.
Nude.
Yeah.
They don't stick around very often. This is just there to have something in the background for Dust to confront Laura. As former classmates.
And this is a pretty stiff conversation between X-23 and Dust, who have gone through some shit together in the past, and are basically, like, Dust is kind of challenging X-23, like, are you an Avenger? Are you okay with what the Avengers are doing to us as mutant kind? And X-23 kind of holding back and saying, like, I don't have enough information. And then Dust kind of winning the argument by saying, like, apparently you have a lot to learn because some things you should just automatically know. And it's these kind of conversations that really get me into the Avengers versus X-Men of like, you should just kind of be on our side because we're your people. But of course, it's not near as black and white in that for X-23, who, Cyclops wasn't happy, or a lot of X-Men weren't happy about the kill squad that she was on. So like,
she loves the X-Men, but Nightcrawler keeps like giving her nasty looks, or did up until that fateful night.
Yeah.
The next next competition is Loa, who I guess is an X-Men. I have no idea. Versus Finesse doing surfing. And Finesse is going to use Finesse's, Taskmaster powers to do it. And Metal, who is the big red guy who looks like Red Skull, kind of explains like, no, like I used to surf all the time, and I can't do it anymore. But you can't just like do it from watching. Every wave is different. And he starts bonding with the X-Men Loa, who is like, oh, like you used to surf, and he's like, yeah, I used to, but now I just sink. Loa, she says, I'm named after a worm because I can tunnel under a rock.
Thanks, Loa.
Yeah, well, Loa is also the name of voodoo gods are called Loa, which is what I thought was going on. And she just says, like, I'm named after a worm. And it's like, oh, cool. Loa the Worm Hicks, jazz legend. Like,
I would have just said like, hey, I can tunnel through rocks. Like I would have left out the worm bit, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's just a little exposition. Even though like the way that we're like, I don't know who any of these people are. The people in Avengers Academy are like double that. Like, oh, here's
Absolutely.
70 new little like kids that I've never read anything by whatever that team is that did the New Mutants relaunch. So I don't know who these kids are. The takeaway is that Loa, who can shoot under the ground like a worm, can make the earth kind of move so he can surf. So Metal can surf on the ground.
Yes.
And a cute little moment where Hazmat, who is one of my favorite characters in Avengers Academy, who's really cool, gives her a big hug because she helped out her boyfriend. Like, you think this is going to be a weird jealousy thing, but she's just happy that her boyfriend is happy.
And this prompts Hazmat to be like, "Hey, this is going well. He wants to do a little barbecue on the beach. Like, let's go have some fun." And other guy, I don't recognize.
Yeah. This is also Velocidad.
Velocidad. Okay, this is I thought this was the dinosaur guy, but I didn't know for sure because he wasn't a dinosaur at this point. So
yeah, no, the dinosaur guy is a person of color, but they have the same haircut, so it's easy to mix him up with Velocidad.
Oof. Okay.
Something in a fast dad.
Wait, this can't be Velocidad because he's not a mutant, right?
Well, no, well, I think it's Velocidad because after he speaks, one of the characters, God, we're not doing our job. One of the characters like, Velocidad's right. We're not doing our job and the writer is not doing their job, assuming that we know who all these kid X-Men are. But she's like, Velocidad is right after he talked. So I think Velocidad is a mutant.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
Pretty recently that we figured out what Velocidad was. Velocidad.
Don't even. We shouldn't even try. Like we're just going downhill at this point.
Yeah. No, he's an X-Man.
Okay. Cool.
Velocidad.
Cool. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So yeah, he interrupts and is like, "Hey, yo, like this is ridiculous. Like you guys are like having a party, and one of our own just is missing." Maybe even possessed by some weird cosmic entity. Like Avengers came into our home and took us literal prisoner. Like, what the fuck is this? And of course, the other X-Men are like, yeah, like what do you think's going to happen to you guys if they decide that you're dangerous? It's like they've decided that we're dangerous. And of course, that's being kind of the underpinned plot of Avengers Academy resonates a little bit. And the X-Men just stalk off at that point. They're like, see you later, everybody. We're going to go watch TV.
Yeah, we're going to go watch TV. Yeah. In the training room, we get Finesse and Laura kind of expositing while fighting robots, kind of bonding, and they're kind of interesting characters, like or have kind of similar characteristics. Like Laura, because she was programmed to be a killbot, has a hard time with social cues and emotion, and then Finesse does as well.
Yeah.
I do not know if the discourse has gotten around to like Finesse is a autism spectrum hero. There's some coding for that early on that I noticed, but I haven't done enough research to say for sure.
And this is a comic book from 10 years ago, so like who knows what the fuck has happened.
Yeah,
to this
so
character.
They might not be doing a good job.
Now she works for
I think
Hydra.
That was
whoops.
Yes, it just during the miniature Secret Empire. Can you guys believe that Finesse became a Hydra? Remember who? Oh, Taskmaster's daughter, Domino Mask. Yeah, she's so they're just kind of taking out their aggressions, which is nice, and bonding. We cut over to Tigra, MS, and Jeffries listening to Sebastian Shaw make whump noises in his cell, and Tigra is like, oh, he could probably get out, right? Like he's incredibly powerful, and he's like, no, well, if he gets punched by Thor, he is like his whole thing is he gets as strong as the kinetic energy that hits him.
Yeah.
So him just kind of hitting himself into the wall, it's going to absorb the energy. Nothing's going to happen. But it turns out he's just sitting cross-legged, hitting himself in the head with a book for 8 hours.
Perfect.
To build up the charge.
And he is going to just basically skate through the floor, which leads to the ocean. The last page, as they realize like they have to go find this dude because hey, if Wolverine's afraid of him, then that's going to be a problem. Is kind of a throwback to not Days of Future Past. That's got to be Dark Phoenix, right?
Dark Phoenix, where Wolverine's in the basement of the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, but this time it's Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw, would you like to play a game?
Yes. Like, punch me again. It's worth noting that Sebastian Shaw, as soon as he lost his memory, he gave himself the worst facial hair, I think. which is when someone has the beard without the mustache.
Yep, absolutely.
Like the Captain Ahab, I think, is one of the worst looks that you can rock.
Not cool to me, Gary, at all. It's not cool to me.
Total chin strap. Yeah. So they're going to be dealing with that. I don't know how much of it is going to be part of this crossover, at least the next issue. But yeah, we're going to see how the X-Men kids handle being in prison with the Avengers. And that's going to be the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Of this.
And it's
lots of breezy comics this week. Like everything went by real quick.
Everything, especially Avengers versus X-Men 3. Like it went by so fast that I was like, was Avengers Academy 40 pages and I just didn't notice what was going on. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Like I said at the top, like I like seeing these kids kind of just do kid stuff together, and even though it gets into you know a little bit of weirdness, as it should, based on the things that are happening, it's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of bounce off of each other. And I don't know, like I like whole stories about kids trying to figure out how to be kids around other kids, like just trying to figure out where their place is and all that stuff, and add powers into the mix. And baby, you got a Disney Plus series rated PG-13.
I don't really like it unless they have powers usually.
Sure.
But you give them powers, I'm like into it, because the stakes are just super high. Like you get a regular kid who's upset. Like then we're just doing the Pearl Jam Jeremy video.
I guess when I said that, I basically meant only like slasher movies based in like summer camps. I guess that's what I was talking about. I only like it if they're all going to die in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those as well. As long as the kids have powers or they're going to die. Both of those make kids stories good. If the kids end up having a happy ending, I'm not here for it.
Boy, this really supports my thesis that as white guys get older, they just all turn into Stephen King. Like, this is ridiculous.
You can take your Nick and Nora's Infinite playlist and shove it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. We will be back in a couple days with more. If you would like to support the network, head to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Do that. Tell your friends about the podcast. Leave ratings and reviews, all that stuff. Just have a good time with it out there, guys. It's just have a good time with it.
You only live once.